Welcome back to Seat Time. This is going to be kind of a mid-season review, talking a little bit about what has happened during the year of racing so far, what I have learned, and then looking to what is going to be happening. But of course, if you want to support Seat Time, you can get a hat, you can get a shirt at shop.seattime.co. Thank you for those of you that have been supporting the Stoke. Let's get into this. The year started on a brand new bike, but the racing started at Sumpter. So I drove my happy butt across the country to South Carolina for my first ever Sumpter. I was not ready on the bike for that event. Please go back and watch all of the setup videos that Brian Story and I did on this bike. It will help you understand why I wasn't ready, why there was too much preload on the bike. The bars that I had on weren't the right bars yet. The rear sprocket that I had on wasn't the rear sprocket yet for the way that I needed to be able to be comfortable and balanced on this motorcycle. So there's a lot there that I learned, that I made content about, that you can pick up on that. But if you haven't raced Sumpter before, I want you to know that you should. It is a very trying race. The shortest test section on the day was 8 miles, and then the last three were 3 10-mile test sections. So they beat us up. It got way more hot, way more humid. There was not very much airflow in the woods than I think a lot of us thought it was going to be. And honestly, my nutrition and my hydration is what kept me going. I figured out how to ride the bike a little bit better in the first 3 tests. So in the last 3, you did see my results get a little bit better, but I did just feel more comfortable on the bike. But my hydration and my nutrition really is what helped me get into that better placement by the end of the day. Number one takeaway from Sumpter is I did not have enough seat time on the bike figuring out who I was and how I needed to ride this new motorcycle. Second up was actually a blackjack event at the White Rock Enduro. If you have not heard or been to this event, I definitely encourage you to put it on their list. This year it was 82 miles. Yes, there's some transfers in there, but again, someone who is a keep endurance in enduro kind of guy, transfers are part of it. They are attrition on the day. They take away from bike and body as you're making it to those different test sections. So I'm totally fine with transfer sections. I did also make another mistake on this bike that we've talked about, and that is rear tire choice. So I put out a review on the Tusk Talon Hybrid, which is kind of this gummy tire that Tusk puts out, and when it gets wet, it sucks. Watch the full review if you want to know more, but one, that really bit me in the butt at the White Rock Enduro. What I realized though also is that I was attacking too hard in the very beginning of the test sections, and it was actually wearing out my biceps of all things, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And so what I did is I started attacking a little bit less off the first 2 miles, and then I started picking up my pace as we went through the test, and then throughout the rest of the day, that really did come to fruition. I rode the A-only test section extremely well at the White Rock Enduro, and I have a full video of that out, but I didn't carry that over to Ohio. So everything I did correct in Arkansas, I did incorrect in Ohio. And again, when we get to Ohio, we'll talk about that with the Little Raccoon. But White Rock was awesome. I got 3rd in the 40A class. And then of course it was like 16th overall, but being a local race, top 20, super awesome. I'm typically top 15 in a blackjack event right now. White Rock needs to be on your list. Up next was the Cinjun Classic National Enduro, an amazing event. I grew up riding in these woods, so I love going back so I can high five all the peoples from my childhood. It's an amazing time. But unfortunately, it got canceled the day of the event. Luckily for us, it was only about a 5-hour drive, but for those that did make the 20-hour drive to the event, that sucks. And I get it, it's very hard to work with the Forest Service in that regard because of all the rain that came in Saturday night. Unfortunately, that is just one of those things that it is what it is. I was ready to go. I had been doing a lot more work with Brian Story, getting the bike a lot more prepared and ready to rock and roll, but it got canceled, so we moved on to the next event. After Cinjun Classic, I drove across the country to get myself to the West Virginia-Pennsylvania border for the US Sprint Enduro, which was the high voltage event, which was an ISDE qualifier. Yes, I was trying to qualify for the ISDE in the senior team. I was way out of my element. Even though I had ridden a motocross track, I did not have nearly the intensity that I needed from moto riding to be able to leverage there at that event. One, line choices at a Sprint Enduro are very different, especially on the grass track. Two, the intensity that you need is a lot higher. They're a lot shorter, right? You're only out there for under 10 minutes, and so you need to make sure that you're bringing a different level of intensity than you are when you're going to go into an 8 or 10 mile test section at more traditional restart or type of enduro. And then also the adaptability. The course changes every single time you ride it. So a line you may have used before, you kind of have to know, how is that going to change? There's going to be another 200, 300 riders that are going to ride through here. Am I going to try to look for that line, or am I going to try to move over a little bit? I did talk to Barry Hawk afterwards. We did a podcast, so it's out on the Seat Time podcast feed if you want to listen to all of the audio. But of course, I snipped it up and made my line choices video so that we could talk about those European lines versus the American lines, which is what makes grass track so specific, and why the ISDE and things like the World Enduro GP, they just ride different than we do. They see the course different, and on grass tracks, we Americans need to learn those line choices. So those are great ones as well. So no, I did not have the showing that I would have liked, but that doesn't matter. I rode about to my ability, which was not good enough. After driving to the West Virginia-Pennsylvania border, I made my way back through to Georgia. So the exact same route that I would have taken to South Carolina, just a handful of hours more west from Texas. Unfortunately, it rained Saturday night, so we got another very wet, very slick enduro for us to race on. First time to Georgia, I knew that there were slight elevation changes and that it was going to get tight, lots of pine trees, but the Georgia clay was very slick, and it is much more slick than a lot of the clay that we do have here in Texas. Though clay in general does get slick, builds up, creates heat on the motorcycle, lots of things can go wrong. I do think that I rode more to my capabilities at this event. Even though I did go back and forth with a couple riders, I was getting passed from guys on row 42 a lot. Again, if I look at the way the times worked out and the way that I felt like I was on the bike, it all makes sense. What I was realizing though is that there is more inside of me to be able to put forward. I just hadn't learned how to attack yet on this motorcycle and feel completely comfortable. The whole bicep thing actually kind of started to piss me off, and I said, you know what, I'm not able to get a lot of extra seat time on the motorcycle, so what I'm going to do is very specific strength training work for the biceps. That doesn't mean hypertrophy. I'm not trying to get big. I'm trying to create stronger, denser muscles in here in these biceps to see if that is something that is going to work. So far, I've noticed that it has been working. So I just do some hammer curls, right? And then instead of doing pull-ups in this overhand grip, I do them in an underhand grip. So less back and shoulders and a little bit more bicep when you're in that underhand grip. When you're in overhand, it's a lot more shoulders and back for that. And it's been helping. I haven't had that bicep issue, but again, it could be also because I'm paying more attention to the way that I'm pinching the bikes. There are a lot of factors in play. So I just added that to my traditional training. So far, we're good to go. I'll keep you up to date if it gets weird. After Cherokee, man, it was the Flying W National Enduro. First time on the circuit last year. It was a brand new event. It was extremely dusty. So coming back, though, I was extremely excited to be on this terrain and hopefully not have any dust. We did get some rain, and it was muddy. I wouldn't say it was horrible. It was just on the other side of like perfect conditions for up there. I really enjoyed it. Last year when I went, I thought it was a hell of a great race. I do have a video out from last year if you want to see what it was like from last year going into this year and the differences between the trail when we did or didn't have extremely slick rocks and lots of mud built up everywhere. They do a great job laying it out. I know that they're using the amount of property that they have kind of to its limit right now. I do wish that we could get a few more test miles out of the day. It feels like they're a little bit shorter tests, but I know that's a little controversial. Some people want those like 5 and 6 mile tests. Some people want the 8 to 10 mile. I think it's a great way to find a nice diverse if you can do that, you know, get a couple extremely short 4, 5, 6 test sections that are a little bit more sprinty, but then make sure we throw in a 7, 8, 9, or a 10 so that we get a little bit more length out of that as well. Again, the endurance aspect of what happens in these races. If you hadn't ridden in Missouri, this is a great one to check out because it is very Missouri. It has a lot of loose rocks all the way from like baby heads all the way down to little tiny ones all over the trail. So you're always kind of constantly dancing, which feels weird underneath you. And then when you make it into the creek beds, it's just all a bunch of baby heads and you're trying to pin it, but again, the bike just feels really washy underneath you. Very weird, but it had that amazing creek section. I think it was test 5 this year. It might have been last year as well, where you're just hammering. I mean, it might have been half a mile or a mile of just going down this creek as it took a right and just a lot of water this year though. Last year it was nowhere near as deep as it was this year. So we got really wet trying to hammer through that. Also, this one was great because I got to follow my friend Brendan Griner, so a fellow Texas racer. He is younger than me, but that's okay. Like, I'm 46 right now. Everybody's a little bit, or most people are a little bit younger than me these days. But he's a 250A rider from Texas, and he was a great pull for me. So it was cool because the first mile or two, I'd be with him. I'd make a couple little mistakes in a couple turns. He'd start to walk away, but I could always just kind of see him out in the distance. And then we'd get about another mile or two from that, and I'd say, all right, let's see if we can reel him back in. And then I'd get him, and so we'd go about a mile or two from the end. I'd get back on his rear wheel. Once we got into about test 4, 5, and 6, he did have a bad crash in test 6. So about 4 and 5, when I would catch him, I had to be like, come on, Brendan, you got this, let's keep going. Because at that point, if I kind of wanted to cross country it, I probably could have passed him. But it's one of those situations I don't know that it was really the speed that I had to drop him, and so I never felt I truly needed to pass him as much as when I caught him, it was like, hey dude, I'm here, let's do this, let's finish strong. And he did, and we had a great day. It sucks that he had the gnarly crash that he did in test 6, and I hope to see him at the National Enduros again soon, because a hell of a cool kid, great rider, and I know he's looking for experiences like the National Enduro Series has to offer. Oh buddy, and then we get to the Little Raccoon National Enduro. So we talked about White Rock and the poor tire choice. I knew I wanted to do a review on that video, that's why I threw it back on. I've used it in a couple things again, check out that video. But the MX-34 that I had on the rear was too clapped out for this race. It had that, it's got one more ride in it kind of look to it, but this is a race, this wasn't a ride, and I drove 16 hours to go race my dirt bike. I should have gone as prepared as possible, and I had a new 82 on the front. I should have had a new rear tire on. At this point, it could have been a new rear 34 or a new 82. Almost anything would have been better what I had on that motorcycle. So certainly, huge mistake there. Another mistake is not preparing the motorcycle well for this post all of the other things this bike has been through. It's been through a lot of muddy, hot conditions, and because of that, I should have been bleeding the clutch and the brakes more often. I have been changing the oil every 5 hours, and then every 10 hours, I'm changing the oil filter. So within that, I should have just bled everything. I don't know why I didn't. Honestly, I think it's just because I got lazy. So it was about 35 hours when I did bleed it. I put that reel out. It was extremely disgusting looking. And in the long run, that's my own damn fault. I'm the mechanic and the racer right now, and I needed to be a better mechanic, and I wasn't. I did attack well at the very beginning of the Little Raccoon National Enduro. That has been something else that I'm trying to focus on, is like after riding with Brendan, I realized, holy crap, I have this capacity within me, but I need to see how I can create this on my own and not be pulled all the time by just a faster racer. So that's what I tried to do. I feel like I did pretty good in test 1. It was kind of an ebb and a flow, if you will, to 2, 3, and 4. This slick Ohio clay somehow is worse than what's in Georgia. Blew my mind. The front tire worked good, but again, a brand new 82 on the front worked decent. Was I sliding all over the place still? Absolutely. Rear 34 smoked. Horrible idea. One thing that was cool was I got a comment on the YouTube video, right, that full recap that I put out from that event, of someone saying, hey, I noticed you had your traction control on the bike. In those conditions, when it's muddy, when it's slick, and there's a lot of hill climbs, or some combination of them, turn the traction control off. Because when you start to get wheel spin, the bike itself will try to stop that wheel spin, and you'll have less control with the clutch and the throttle. And I was like, blew my mind. Every rider is different, and so the way that you're gonna feel that from the controls to the power coming to the ground is gonna be different, but it's worth testing. So commenter, I appreciate you putting that there, and I am now riding without the traction control on more to see what the bike feels like going back and forth between those. Next up is gonna be the Rattlesnake Enduro in Cross Fork, Pennsylvania. So driving the exact direction back we did to Wellston, Ohio, except we're just gonna keep on going to Pennsylvania. It's gonna be a heck of a journey. We've got the super test on Saturday and lots of rocks, it sounds like, on Sunday. Talking to Barry Hawk, keep the 82 on the front, put an EN91 on the rear. That's what I'm gonna do. A gummy would be nice, but considering that there's a lot of transfer miles and I don't have a way to change my wheel and have multiple tires on ready to go, I'm gonna do the non-gummy. Barry Hawk did mention if you have a way to change wheels, starting with the 91 is a good way to go. As the race wears on, back to the back half, 91 EX is then something to put on. I'm gonna have the 91 on. I'm gonna have some new rear moose balls for the 140 because it is a little bit wider. We're gonna see how it goes. The next national after that's gonna be the Lead Belt Enduro in Missouri. This race was a ton of fun last year. So if you wanna do a little bit of recap, I have a video from last year when it was part of the Blackjack series. It's very similar to that Missouri single track. A lot of loose, pebbly stuff. There's a lot of cool elevation changes. They can make it extremely technical if they want to. And if it rains, it's going to be technical because of all the rocks that are there. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I loved it. I did crash in the waterfall section last year. Unfortunately, did not take the advice I was given, so I am not going to try to hammer it this year, though I'm sure the pros will, and it will look extremely amazing if you're there at that section. It's probably going to be in the A-only section, that last test 6 there at the Lead Belt. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to go back to Missouri. I truly am enjoying racing or riding in Missouri. Following that bad boy is going to be Mud Daubers Enduro, and that's going to be in Indiana, and it's actually going to be a Saturday event because the Motocross of Nations is on Sunday. I don't know much about this event at all. I haven't started watching any footage from years prior. So again, if you've got information on Mud Daubers, please put those comments below. I'm going to talk to Barry Hawk again about tire choice, see where we get, see how the suspension clickers do in the rocks of PA, and we'll just talk through it about Lead Belt, all those kinds of things. But that'll be an interesting one. I have not decided yet if I'm going to go to Motocross of Nations yet on Sunday. I might just start driving home so I don't have to take an extra day off of work, because honestly, I've had to take a lot off so far. Moving on to the last round of the National Enduro Series is going to be the Gobbler Getter National Enduro there in Alabama. I grew up doing this race and not doing very well there because I was in Sarah with my dad, and I'm excited to come back. Just like the Cinjun Classic, I love being able to see everybody that I grew up around who is still in the sport, still riding out there having fun. So if you're going to be at the Gobbler Getter, make sure you say hi. It can get really tight. It's cool because they have elevation. There can be some rocks, but typically it's more the roots. When you get stuck and you just dig in, it can be some of that black dirt if I remember correctly. The last time I was there was 2018 that I raced there, and then prior to that, obviously growing up, we raced there just about every year in Sarah. Never did very good. I think I finished that race in the back of a pickup truck as a kid more than I ever actually finished that event on the bike. So fingers crossed, we finish out the year well, right? We just do the thing. So we'll see how Gobbler Getter goes. Currently, I am second in the 45A class, but it's really just because I've been to all the events. There have been many faster racers, so I'm kind of in that top 5. I feel very comfortable saying that right now I am a top 5 racer, and I'm starting to find kind of my groove in that. But at the same time, locally, riding with someone like Noah Willett, why my dirt bike is so dirty, I'm noticing I am, again, a lot faster than I think I can, and I can attack a lot more, and I just need to keep doing that to be able to reiterate up here that I am more of a capable racer than I think I am when I put my helmet and when I put my goggles on. I don't think that there's a way that I could technically win this class, but that was not the goal at the start of the year, so I don't feel like I'm not living up to anything. My goal with this was to do all the national enduros, so far I'm halfway there. Have fun riding my dirt bike, enjoy getting seat time, and I've done that every single time. I'm continuously learning things about myself and about racing and riding dirt bikes that I'm trying to translate to you guys. So the year at the midpoint is still a win. That's the win from the year so far, and what I think is going to be the win at the end of the year. Would it be awesome to get a top 3 after all that competing? It would be amazing, but I don't have any control over that. I only have control of the effort I can give on the day that I show up at the race. So we're going to do that. There is a TSEC Blackjack co-sanction, so 2 races coming up. We're going to have Bartow Ranch Enduro and Barnwell Mountain coming back, it looks like. So that's in November 16th, and then I think the first weekend of December. If you guys want to travel to Texas for 2 amazing races, those are 2 to do it at, especially if it rains, because it's going to get technical. Bartow Ranch does get very slick. There's a lot of black clay out there, so maybe some of the techniques that I'm learning this year will come into play. We shall see. And somehow I won the overall A last year at the Barnwell Mountain Enduro. Do I think I could do that again? Absolutely. Do I think it's gonna happen? No, I don't. But that's okay. I'm going to show up on race day just like we talked about, and I'm going to give my damnedest best effort. And if my best effort on the day is a result like an overall A, phenomenal. But if I get beat by a bunch of dudes in the A class because they're younger and or better riders than me or just had a better day than I did, you know what? That's the way it happens, and that's okay. If there's anything from the year that you still have questions on or want me to talk about more going into videos for the back half of the year, please use the comments to do that. I've really appreciated all the conversations that have happened and the learnings that I've had, but then also the learnings that y'all have helped me have, like talking about the traction control and how and when not to use it. Amazing. I love that advice. Let's keep that going. I just want to say, thanks for tuning in, and I want you guys to enjoy getting seat time. If I don't get a chance to see you guys on the trail or at any of the National Enduros this year, I'll see you here on the internet, which will be for the next video. So subscribe, like, swipe up, do whatever the kids are doing. But please enjoy getting seat time. See you for the next one. Peace.